is coming.
I'm ready.
That had Baldy Jack written all over it. Did he help you with that?
No, that was me.
Okay, well, that's his style for sure.
I know. And I sent it to him yesterday and I was like, hey, this is going to be the intro for the episode. And he loved it. And I was like, I don't know about you, man, but I think that the slow-mo really adds to it. He was like, yeah, it really just kind of, you having it in slow-mo made it so much better. He also sent me 2 new clips of yours that are his favorite recently.
God.
Pull them for you really quick. Let's see. Where we at, Michael? Where we at? Okay, so
On that. Skibbity on that.
So you saying skibbity, and then this one.
Diddy parties.
Skibbity and Diddy parties. The funny thing is, I have no recollection of ever saying skibbity.
I didn't either.
And Diddy parties, I mean, I know obviously like everything going on with P Diddy right now is hysterical, but I don't recall the context about any of that.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? It is the week of Christmas. We're at a Christmas now. It's about to be New Year's Eve when this drops. It'll be a day till New Year's Eve. Yeah. We're right in the throes of the holidays. How was your Christmas, man? What Santa bring you?
Leaky roof. Grandma in the hospital. Still. That's it, pretty much. Other than that, like, no, I'm good. I'm off work this week. I'm going to get I gotta wait for the guy to come in the morning to hopefully this is his second time coming back to my house to try to fix this. It was a nightmare, dude. Like 2 days ago, it stormed, and all of a sudden we have a post. Like I have a TP roof, which I think most houses are like that. Otherwise, if you have a flat roof, like your water would just pile up on the roof. But in my living room, it's like this, and here's the wall. Here's like the back side of the house on this side. Well, the roof goes down like that and then goes flat, like it meets the wall and then goes down. Well, we have a poster against the wall, and we were watching something on TV, and the poster fell off it came off the wall, like it came off, and we're like, what the fuck is that about? We look at the wall, it's got a bubble behind on the wall. It's a water bubble. So we look up, we got water dripping out of this spot, and then there's water dripping down to the edge of the wall and coming down and going into this pocket. So Sydney, I was like, she said, I said, well, pop the bubble. Otherwise, it's just going to get bigger in the wall. Like, pop it. So she took a box cutter and popped it, and we're cleaning all that crap up. And it's like 10:30 at night. I get my fucking tarp. I have a massive tarp, which is more of a pain in the ass than it needed to be. And I go up there, and I'm just trying to throw the tarp up over that area. Getting up on my roof, the storm, it was terrifying because the sky was literally just flashing light like lightning. Like it was like almost turning daytime for a split second. The lightning was so incredible. And I'm on top of my roof trying to get this damn tarp up. Finally get through that. The guy comes the next day to fix it. And he says, I think I know what the problem is. And I'm like, okay. So he fixes that. I won't get into the money of it, but. And then City's like, well, it's going to rain tomorrow, so we'll find out. Of course, 5 minutes of it raining. It's as if he didn't touch anything. So I had to get back on the roof. I'm throwing tarps on there. I'm calling the guy. So now they're coming back tomorrow morning. But I have to go to Shreveport tomorrow because fucking AT&T is stupid And like I have a family. Let me get this out of the way, dude, because I just got to get all my grievances out.
Do it.
We have a family plan where it's me, Sydney, her parents. Yes, people, I can afford my own phone and I pay for me and Sydney's share. But the reason we do what's a family plan is basically you could get a better deal as opposed to like if me and Sydney just had our own phone bill. If we're on a plan with 4 people, the rate is cheaper per person. So we do that. That way we can pay less. And we pay Sydney's mom on auto pay every month, and they pay the actual total ransom per month, or total bill, not ransom. But anyway, we go to get this upgrade like November 12th or whatever. Like it was well over a month ago. Sydney's mom's like, "Hey, we can get an upgrade now." And we just cut the dog's nails. That's why my hands look like this. That's why I got all these cuts. And everybody's getting their phone, blah, blah, blah. And a girl says, "Oh, you can't get one." I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, I'm on a plan with them." And she's like, "Well, on your plan, you can't get the upgrade until December 30th, which is tomorrow." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, and City Sounds like, "What are you talking about? Like, why?" Well, on his plan, he didn't opt for the early upgrade or whatever, blah, 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 where if you have one payment. And she's like, I'm thinking to myself, I was like, I never even talked to you people before. I haven't talked to you people before. How could I have done that? Long story short, some jackass at AT&T for some reason just did that to my phone, which is not a big deal. But now I got to go back to AT&T tomorrow to deal with these people. And they keep trying to, Nick, they keep trying to sell me this goddamn watch. For the life of me, explain to me the benefit of an Apple Watch. I think it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
You're asking the wrong person. I think they're stupid too. I've never had one.
Like, I see people with these things all the time. You've already got the phone on you. It's in your pocket. Why do you need the watch? And it's tiny. How do you look at it?
Yeah.
Do you answer calls with it? Do you respond to text? Like, do you actually sit there and type on the watch? I don't understand it.
I think a lot of it, and I could be wrong. I'm sure some of you guys listening right now have Apple Watches and you can tell us, but
I think
a lot of the allure for it is like a lot of it's voice. So like, and also you can use it, I think, like for exercise purposes. I'm sure it's convenient and stuff like that. It's more or less, I think, to let you know about a specific notification without you having to use your phone. But then at the same time, it's like, I mean, you're still looking at the watch. I don't know. I think it's stupid too. And that's not to say that anybody that has them is stupid. No, you may have reasons for having it. I've just always felt like it was dumb. So I have no interest.
Oh, dude, everybody's got them. I see everybody with these things. I'm just like, why don't you just look at if you have a text note, just look at the phone. Yeah. It's like, do you look at the app? Oh, I got a text message. Okay, let me pull out my phone now, as opposed to just getting the vibrate on the phone and seeing you got. I don't know, dude. That's just more crap you got to wear. That's more crap. And if you want the exercise, just get a Fitbit. Aren't they like $20? And they just they go off of your pulse, or they have like a sensor to where it can tell how many steps you take.
Oh, you know what it really is, dude. It's just Apple. It's just Apple wanting to get more money out of you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they try to upsell us the iPad, and they're like, "Oh, it's $1 down." It's if you get and it's just like, man, I'm old. Like, I go on Amazon and I get the refurbished. I have my iPad right here. I use my iPad as a second monitor to my actual Mac because I can Bluetooth it to make it a second monitor. I get a used Apple iPad that's like 4 years old for like $120 on Amazon. It's great. They look brand new. They work perfectly fine. These iPads are expensive. Like these new iPad, like if you look up an iPad now, like, man, it's like hundreds and hundreds. These phones are insane, dude. These phones cost thousands of dollars. Why don't they just make Apple products in America? If it costs that much, like, why can't they just make the shit here?
Well, that's simple. It's because they can pay far less to make it and charge us far more to buy. Their profit is astronomical. Whereas, like,
Oh, I think I can still hear you for a second.
Yeah.
Are you good now?
Okay, you can hear me.
How loose was that thing in there?
No, it wasn't. I like.
Are you totally,
okay. Yeah. Yeah. They charge way less to to make it, and then they charge us way more to buy it, and they're just trying to maximize their profits. That's really all it is. You know, it's like if they made it in America, I know you do, but it's just like it really is that simple. Like, not to be cynical, it just really is. It's like, well, we could make so much more if we just make it in China. And it's like, okay, fuck it, let's make it in China. It's just funny. It's like American exceptionalism, you know, so many people nowadays have a hard on for that. And it's like, I hope you know that most of these companies that we champion, they're never going to make this stuff in America because it's not advantageous to them financially. So I don't know.
But my thing is just like the cost of them are so astronomical. You would think that they're made by princes or like, you know, they're so expensive. Dude,
why Saudi Arabia.
Why is a cell phone $1,000? That's
I don't know, especially because I know you remember a couple of years ago when there was this whole thing where Apple was getting taken to task because it was essentially proven that they were making their products to not last. So people would have to buy more. Like, and that's obvious. You have an iPhone for long enough, you notice these things. It starts to run slower. The battery life is way, way diminished. Like, just go down the line, and it's like they make these things to fail. So you got to buy more. Dude, it's just like a car.
I have it's funny because I have some friends at work that like they got like the iPhone, they still got the button on theirs, so it's probably like a 7 or a 6. And they, dude, I remember one this guy at work, he was like, hey man, let me show you something real quick, and he was trying to pull up Safari. Dude, you'd have thought it was a mouse on a wheel trying to get the internet to work on that thing. It was so slow.
And they get used to it. They That's
don't even... old phone though, so I guess I can't, you know.
Yeah, but
I don't know, dude. Like the thing is, like when the last time I was there, like the girl was telling me, I was like, listen, I don't want the not the plus because that's the big size, but the pro. I was like, I don't want the pro. Like, she's like, well, the pro's got a better camera and stuff. And your wife said you do YouTube and stuff. I said, I've got cameras. I don't want that. I want storage. I just want storage. And it was so annoying, dude. You would have thought I was in GameStop. They were trying to upsell me. You may as well just get the pro. You know, the camera's better on that. They work faster. It's just, oh God, I'm just dreading going in there tomorrow.
Yeah, you're going to be there a while. Well, you won't be if you're just like, I'm not interested. Leave me alone type shit. You know, it's funny. It's the other day I was at Walmart and you know, those people, I don't know if you get them down there, but like there's always people set up in Walmart, like in random spots in Walmart, like, hey, who's your utility provider? I don't know if you guys get that down there, but we get it.
Yeah, we do. I don't have it right now, but like them Dish, there's like they're all like kind of like together, right? Dish, AT&T, and do all this crap.
It's third party. They're not actually with these companies. They're separate. What they're trying to do is, and I know this because for a 2-month span in my life, like 8 years ago, I had a sales job, and the sales job was this, where you go to people like businesses and stuff, and you're like, oh, hey, you know, we work with the utility company. We just need to check your bill out, blah, 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 and see if they're charging you the right rate. And if not, we'll fix it. And what it is, it's a third party that's just trying to lock you into a rate. And like that might sound good up front, like initially, like, oh, wow, my rate is crazy. You can lock me into a different rate. Yeah, we can. Difference is when the seasons change and your usage goes way up or way down, your rate's going to stay the same. So they're boning you, but they're selling it as if they're not. Well, I was there the other day, man, at Walmart, and they walked up. Hey, they said the utility company that's local here, AES, and I was like, yeah, I'm not interested, man. And he was like, no, we work with them. And I was like, I turned right to him and I was like, no, you don't. I know exactly who you guys are. I'm not interested. And like the chick was just standing there, like you could tell she was like, okay, let's just not do this. And the guy kept trying. And I had my son with me. I was at Christmas shopping. And I just turned and looked at the dude. I was like, bro, I'm not interested. Like, I know what you're doing. Like, leave me alone. And I just walked away. But it's like, that's why I couldn't do sales, man. It's just this. You're a fucking leech, man. You're a vulture.
Nah.
You just don't leave people alone.
Oh, dude, like and the GameStop people too. Like, dude, they every day they essentially have a gun to their head with all that GameStop pass stuff they gotta do and pre-orders. I watch, dude. There's a whole section of YouTube about GameStop horror stories. I watch them once a week of people just like employees that finally quit or get fired and they start. Dude, there was this one guy that had a manager that just said, start putting game passes on people's purchases. Don't even tell them. We have to make our quota or they're going to shut our store down. I swear, there's a whole section of YouTube about this shit.
That's got to be illegal.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's big time illegal. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be that kind of salesman. Like, I think I could work at a car dealership because I'm pretty good at talking to people and stuff. But being one of those people where you're like, imagine trying to talk to somebody while they're shopping at Walmart. That's like the worst place to catch anybody. Like you're gonna get probably like in certain places you'll get shot.
Yeah.
you get shot, dude.
And it's Christmas time. Like we're clearly there shopping. Like we're already stressed out. We're already short on time. And you're like, hey man, I'm like, dude, So yeah, there's a little bit of airing of the grievances. So I don't know. We didn't really like you and I separately. We weren't like, oh yeah, because we're 30. Well, yeah, I'm 30 now. So it's like, who does that? Like, oh, look at these gifts I got. Oh, well, what'd you get? But I ended up getting a new 4K player. I haven't taken it out of the box yet. It's sitting on my entertainment center, but I'm excited to put that thing to use. Problem was, mom and siblings were here up until yesterday. I had my kid for 7 of 8 days. He went home yesterday and then was back this morning. So it's just like, when I get some time to decompress, I'm going to watch some of the stuff I got. But I got the 4K Steelbook of The Crow, the 2024 one, and I'm excited to revisit that thing. I liked it in theaters. And before we started recording, I was going to ask you something, and I stopped. I said, I'm going to save it. Did you watch that one yet?
Half of it, and I stopped because I got tired. I turned it off. I never finished it, but I don't know. I'm iffy on if I like it or not. But well, I have to finish it.
The first half can be kind of boring and kind of be a chore to get through, but once he comes back, it's like The Crow. It's pretty badass. A lot of action happens, a lot of cool stunts and kills and stuff. So I feel like if you can get to that point,
I like Skarsgård, man. Like, I understand how people see him as being like he's in everything now. But I mean, the dude's in demand. He's really, I mean, look at his library of shit. He plays something totally different every time. Yeah. It's actually really impressive. It's not like he's Mark Wahlberg where he plays the same jackass who barely opens his mouth when he talks. Like he's really like, no disrespect. Like I kind of like Mark Wahlberg, but let's be totally real. Like he's super talented. The dude can do all kinds of shit. All kinds of shit. It's so impressive.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd look at him as a horror guy because he's all over the place. But I think when he plays darker stuff, he's you believe it.
Yeah.
Like he's got so much sincerity in his performances to where whatever it is, it's like he's not hokey, is what I'm trying to say. I've never seen him in anything that I thought he was just hokey at. Like he's just good.
Yeah. Well, that whole family is, man. His dad, his brothers, like it's just like that's genetic. Being able to act is clearly genetic for them. So yeah, but
what do I know? What do I know his family from? Have I seen anything that they've done? Or
well, you've got
I had no idea I had family members.
Yeah, you've got Alexander Skarsgård, and Stellan is his dad, and Stellan Skarsgård has done a lot. He was Bootstrap Bill in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, Will Turner's dad. He is. Let's see what else. I mean, he was in a lot of stuff. I'm trying to. Oh, these are a lot of Swedish films because they're Swedish. But we get to a Good Will Hunting, Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, he's in Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, yeah. Dominion. He plays the priest in Dominion.
Holy shit, that's funny.
And,
He's in
and
Dominion.
also Exorcist the beginning. So, but yeah, he's Bootstrap Bill in the Pirates movies. So Stellan's been in a lot of stuff, and then Alexander has been too. I want to say there's 3 brothers. I could be totally wrong, but no, yeah, wow, there's more than 3. But I think 3 of them act. Alexander, he was in Zoolander, Straw Dogs. I'm trying to see Godzilla versus Kong. Oh yeah, Godzilla versus Infinity Pool. So yeah, their whole family, they just act. And but yeah, Bill, I feel like Bill is the strongest of the 3, and of all of them that act. And obviously, that's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong. It's no disrespect to any of the other Skarsgårds, but yeah, he's great. And I mean, that'll just well. Before we get there, I do want to ask you one thing, and I don't know how much you know or don't know.
Cough it up.
You can
just go ahead and cough it up.
Say.
Just go ahead, get it out.
I'm just curious.
No, I'm talking about you sound like you got a cough. Like you're clearing your throat. Just cough it up.
Yeah. Is this true? This September Nightmare 4K set, or is it still just a rumor?
Yeah, it's true. And so there was I had some people say that I don't know about that site, but I've had enough people I've had people message me and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. And I always say, if I talk and I make a video about it, I am nobody. I'm not claiming to be somebody that's special. I'm just saying that people have reached out to me saying, hey, I either work for Warner Brothers or I have a friend that works there and I get all this. I'm hearing this, blah, blah, blah. It's a box set for September. So the first thing that happened was there was this big leak of this image that people were sending me. And it was this woman that posted this. It was like a roster, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Warner Brothers releasing. And it was showing A Nightmare on Elm Street in September for a box set. We already clearly know that they're working on these. Rachel Talalay on Instagram published that she posted at Warner Brothers and she showed the screen where she was saying, I'm remastering. She said, I'm remastering Freddy's Dead. And then after that when I did that video, that's where I had a couple people actually message me and say, oh yeah, this is happening. And everybody that hit me up behind the scenes says it's definitely a box set, which makes sense. They're not going to release these movies individually over like a course of a year, because that would be literally over a decade, or not over a decade. That'd be like throughout the decade of releasing one movie a year. They're not going to do that. So the next thing I started hearing, which I pray to God this is true. Obviously, we haven't heard anything concrete, but Part 5 and even movies like Part 2 and 4 are supposed to have some uncut stuff put in it. Obviously, everybody knows about Part 5, but 2 and 4, I don't know that I've ever seen sequences that were trimmed online before. Maybe it exists, but I don't know. And then the other thing that I heard was that Warner Brothers kind of put the brakes on the set a little bit because they wanted the people involved at the company apparently were really passionate about it. So they had directors actually come in and work on the restorations themselves, as opposed to just taking studio masters and just like, okay, boom, 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 boom. All right, let's get it out. So it sounds like it's actually going to be fairly, and as far as the remake goes, if that's included, I don't know. That I don't know.
That was going to be my next question.
I just don't know. And my gut says no, because the box set, the Blu-ray box set, when that came out after the remake had already been released on DVD. The movie came out in like April of 2010, because I remember I went on a date with a chick and it was like my birthday when it came out. And then the DVD probably came out later that summer. So the box set for the movies, for the Robert Englund movies, came out in October of 2011, and it did not include the remake. So part of me thinks that New Line is not going to really put it in there, which, I mean, me personally, I'm a completionist with that sort of stuff, so I would prefer it be in there. But if it isn't, I'm not going to lose any sleep. Eventually, it'll come out, and it could be it could come from Arrow, considering they did Friday. So we'll say it'll come out. The remake will eventually come out on 4K, but my gut says that they're going to not include it in this collection. I think they're really high on the Robert films and things in terms of just that, era. So my money says it probably won't have the remake. But yeah, it looks real. There's a pre-order listing on a French website to order it, which I told people don't do that. Just wait.
No. Wait.
But I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. It's funny because I was saying, if you would have told me that the majority of the Elm Street films would come out on 4K before Friday and Halloween, which people were messaging me like, Christian, you lied. Halloween is already out on 4K. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I don't have Rob Zombie's movies on 4K. And they're like, oh, I don't count those. Okay, it doesn't matter if you don't count them or not. I mean, you got to meet me halfway. They're Halloween movies. But I was going to say, if you'd have told me that the majority of the Elm Street, if not all the Elm Street films, will come out on 4K before all the Fridays and Halloweens, I would have been like, are you kidding me? Like, they don't even want to release the Elm Streets. But it's exciting. I have decent hopes for this to come out pretty good. Better than the typical major studio release. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's supposed to be in September 22nd or 23rd.
Well, I mean, I just I remember about two years or so ago when you made that video, that plea almost.
I cried like a fucking baby. That emotion was for something totally different, by the way. I had something else going on in my life.
Okay, but I mean, I like the authenticity simply just because, like, as somebody that's as passionate about Halloween as you are Nightmare, like if the roles had been reversed, I'd have felt the same way. I remember before the complete collection for Halloween came out, I just kept, not outwardly because I didn't really have a platform to do that on, but I just like begging for it. Like, where is this at? Like, where?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just crazy now that fast forward 2 years later, here we are, we're about to get it. And buddy, I know that's going to be days of your life, weeks probably spent on that thing, covering it, watching all the movies. Oh yeah.
Well, it's the thing is though, it's like once I say this all the time and I swear it's true. Once it gets here and I do a video on it and I, do my review and all that, that's whatever. That's just content. Like, enjoying it is what I'm more excited for. But once it comes and I get to sit down, I can only watch those for the first time on 4K once. I can only do that I can only do it for the first time once. And the journey to me is just as fun. I love knowing something cool is coming. I love that. I love the journey. I love stewing on it and talking about it. And I love that. So I'm enjoying the now as well as looking forward to it. But,
well, make sure that probably goes without saying, but I know that sometimes you multitask, when you're checking out new releases or whatever. I'm sure that'll be one of those where it's like, I'm putting my phone down, nobody bother me. I'm giving my attention to this release because I want every nook and cranny covered of this thing. Like I know with what you do, there's gotta be movies sometimes. That's not to say you don't give it your effort. I know you do, but I know there's gotta be movies sometimes where it feels more like a chore and you're like, not necessarily that you don't want to, but it's just not grabbing you as much. And you're like, it is what it is.
1000%. That usually happens with new releases. But sometimes if it's not like something, like the thing that's cool about Paramount is really they're more interested in MVD as well. Like, just show people the movie, post about it, let them know it's coming, let them know it's available, and stuff like that. They're really more about that. But sometimes, like, I'm getting to where, dude, like, if I really don't want to talk about it, like, dude, I just won't. I just can't. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, but it happens 1000%. And I'm sure people can tell when I I talk about a movie that I'm clawing to talk, like, just to continue to talk about it.
Yeah, it's like that's like the meeting the quota every now and then. Like, I gotta do this. I don't necessarily want to.
Like I actually, and the funny thing is, sometimes I feel more like that when I bought something. Like, well, you bought it. Like, at least you saw, like, Vinegar Syndrome put out Congo, the movie from the 90s that was like the Michael Crichton. And as a kid, I fucking love that movie. And I watched it as an adult, and I'm just like, this is a really bad movie. Like, I could see as a kid how much I love it. And there are things I like about it, but I had to do a video. I think my video was called, like, I had nostalgia goggles, and it was totally true. And then the comments were all like, yeah, idiot. yeah, it's not that great. But see, I feel like sometimes I'm more inclined when I paid, which is if you paid for it, it's like, well, just make 50 cents off of a video as opposed to nothing. Just talk about it.
You know? Mark,
right? Like,
oh, go ahead, Saturn reached out to me when that came out on 4K, and he was like, you should check it out. He's like, it's a Michael Crichton novel. He's like, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not great. And I was like, yeah, I saw people posting about how they got that. So I told him I'd give that one a shot, but I was prepped. I've been prepped going into it. Like, it's not good.
Oh, you haven't seen Congo?
Dude, if I have, I can't remember.
Well, dude, it's one of those things, like, there's a conception that it was a flop and stuff. It was not a flop. It wasn't a gargantuan success the way Jurassic Park was, based off of what it costs, etc. But like, it had the push. It had Kenner Toys. It had Taco Bell promotion. Like, it was a blockbuster in terms of how it was promoted. But it's just like Amy the gorilla, who's the star, like, part of the movie, like the star. She's like almost like the Pikachu of the movie. She's throughout the whole movie. It's a robotic gorilla. And as a kid, my dumb ass, I was like, oh, this is a real gorilla. Watching it now, it's so painfully obvious that it's a robot. And I'm just like, God, man, this is nuts. But Bruce Campbell's in it, which is, nice to see.
Okay. Yeah. Well, but speaking of flops, Christian, Nosferatu is not a flop. I remember we've talked about it for months and you said many times on here, look, man, if this one flops, I don't know if I'll be able to take it. Like, three Dracula-esque stories in the span of a year or so not doing well. I'll be out. I'll be done. Well, this one is not a flop. I think its focus features biggest opening ever domestically, for about 40 million. I don't know how it's doing internationally. I would have to imagine in some international markets it's probably cleaning up. This seems like a movie that'll play well overseas as well.
Like in Germany.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I did not expect this, like, at all. I thought that it could do solid numbers. I didn't expect that it was going to open like Scream 6 levels. And obviously not apples to apples, I know, but it's a big opening. And not only is it a big opening, it's getting really, really good reviews. So I guess I just want to start with you. Take me through your process, man. You were, let's set the scene of going to see Nosferatu and what you thought and why. I watched your review, but to anybody that didn't watch your review, and it's been a week now, guys. This is a long-form show. We're going to get into spoilers. So if you have not seen Nosferatu, this is your warning to click off of this if you don't want to hear spoilers and come back after you've seen it. If you don't care, well, there you go. So, floor's yours.
So when I was at Christmas Eve with my family, I was talking to my uncle, and he was just asking me what I was looking forward to or if I saw anything good. And I was telling him, I was like, I'm going to see Nosferatu, whatever day it was after Christmas, day of the week, whatever that was. I guess that was Thursday. And he was like, oh, I want to see that too. I'm like, dude, let's go together. Let's go together. Because me and my uncle we're still close, but when I was a kid, we were really close. We did everything together. So we actually went to go see that together, and that was fun. And I went to a nice Cinemark theater. I'm hoping I can go find that. I'm going to try to find that bucket tomorrow. Like, I really want that casket. But we went to the theater on a matinee at 12:40 p.m. Sat through literally 35 minutes of trailers, which was excruciating. But I did get to see the trailer for Wolfman, Which, man, the trailer for Wolfman, I gotta be honest, the movie doesn't. The movie has that kind of. It feels a little too much popcorny to me. Like there's something about it production wise that I'm not in love with. I really. I also came off of the Benicio del Toro movie from 2010 a few months ago, and I fell in love with it. I actually thought it was sensational. And this one just looks like it's much more of a modern kind of popcorn movie, which is throwing me off. I wasn't expecting that. I'm not saying I'm not going to like it. But obviously that was the one thing I was hoping I was going to see a trailer for, because that's the only time I can't, what am I supposed to do? Just shut my eyes in the theater? It's the only place I watch trailers. So I don't know, like I'm excited to see it, but I wasn't really in love with what I saw trailer wise with that. But, I mean, I just sat there and I let it happen to me. I mean, it was a packed house too, which was impressive for a 12:40 showing on a Thursday. And I really enjoyed it, man. Like, I don't think this is a perfect movie, but to me, this is pretty damn close. Like, it's pretty damn close. And I really love Nicholas Hoult. Like, I did worry a little bit because he's got like, I don't know if he's going to be typecasted, but like being typecasted for being in Dracula films to me isn't exactly a bad thing. But he's really, I just was taken by him because he was so vulnerable in the movie and his performance was really good. Like, I love Bram Stoker's Dracula, but my fear was that somebody is going to stick out in the movie like Keanu Reeves did. Now, I forgive Keanu and I love Keanu, but he definitely sticks out in Bram Stoker's movie, or in Francis Ford Coppola's movie, to be more specific. But I thought Nicholas Hoult was just, he was I related to him. He was the foil for me in the movie. He was the guy trying to do everything he can for his wife. And obviously I related to that. And I fell for him. There was a shot in the movie that kind of took my breath away where he's approaching the castle in Transylvania, and all of a sudden it's almost like this dreamlike, almost Nightmare on Elm Street-esque.
Oh yeah, like, yeah. You're talking about the street, and it's dark and snowy. Yeah,
and the trees are enveloping the road. The trees are hovering over the road almost. Which I've been on roads like that near plantation homes where these trees just kind of, and maybe my mind's imagining the trees going over the road. I can't remember, but it was definitely a nightmarish image. But what was gorgeous was, there was a moment where he sees the carriage in front of him, but there's this blinding light behind him, and so it's outlining his body. It was pure visual, just ecstasy to me. I was like, this is fucking gorgeous. And like, so visually I fell in love with the movie. But what I loved so much was this dude made a black and white movie. Like, it's not a black and white movie, but it's a fucking black and white movie. The whole movie is these excruciating shades of gray and black throughout the majority of it. And I almost wonder what this movie would look like if it was just simply in black and white, because like, I feel I like what he did, but like, it's so crazy to me. Like, there are moments where I'm like, fuck, like it works because it's this heavy contrast of gray and black throughout the movie, and especially with the nighttime stuff. But it's like, I don't know. I've never seen anybody do that where they made a colored movie, but it's so inherently black and white. And I love that. I've never seen a movie visually do that. So I was so impressed by that. I thought all the performances were good. And I loved when Willem Dafoe came in the movie, because it's just like, he's the familiar face that you just kind of, I loved his character. And he was charming, but he was also like that kind of, he was quirky too, because he was the doctor that's willing to say, no, there's something effing going on with this girl. This is not some sort of mental health problem she's got. And he's almost Dr. Loomis a little bit, like in like some of the latter sequels where it's just like, no, this is, I just thought it was great, and visually, I was just like, man, when Nicholas Hoult walks into the castle at first, like the scope of the scope of this movie was insanely big feeling. So, I mean, it's truly a cinematic experience movie. It's like I feel bad for people that can't see this in the theater because watching this on a 43-inch TV, I worry that I'm going to like this movie a little bit less when I watch it at home because of how great it was at the theater and how, because the scope of the movie is so big, when you see it on screen, you feel like you're seeing the actual size of the movie, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm translating that right.
It
But
does.
like watching this on a 43-inch screen or even a 50-inch screen, dude, that is going to harm this movie. I actually think home video is going to make me not love it as much because I'm going to be like, this is not what I saw in the theater. But overall, I liked it. I'll stop there. I'll let you go, and then we can talk about minor details.
Well,
Overall, I loved it. Excuse me, not liked it. I loved it. I think it's a 4 to 4.5 star movie.
Yeah, so to your point about the visuals too, I think also the sound design is another reason why you guys have to see this in theaters. And I'm not talking the music. The music's great. Christian makes jokes sometimes. Well, he laughs at me sometimes when I tell him that I'll like listen to scores, when I'm at work and stuff. And I was definitely listening to the Nosferatu score at work on Friday. It's just there's something I just vibe with it.
It's just like that meme of Christian Bale from American Psycho, where he's walking down the hall and that the earphones are playing.
Yeah. So I think that if for nothing else, go see it in the theaters just so visually you're getting it as big and as beautiful as it's supposed to be, and for the sound. So I went with my mom, my older brother, my 2 younger brothers, and one of my brother's girlfriends. And
one of his girlfriends,
one of my brother's girlfriends. So like,
oh, okay, it's like,
yeah, because I have multiple brothers. But and I could gauge the vibe sitting there watching it that I was the most into it. My oldest brother Matt was right next to me. He fell asleep about 3 or 4 times. My younger brother Blake kept getting on his phone. So I knew they were not as into it as I was. And my mom, I know my mom jumped a couple times, and she's a gasper, so she'll be in the theater. And I'm like, dude, shut up. But so I thought maybe it was working more for her. And then as soon as it was over, one brother called it mid-Feratu. One brother said, eh. And then my mom said, The Lost Boys is way better. And then all my brothers are like, oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. And I was like, I spoke up and I was like, man, it's crazy. I like this more than all of you guys. Like, that's wild. I was like, also, this is a really different movie than The Lost Boys. I mean, you guys are coming from like nostalgia and everything like that. Totally get it, but totally 2 tonally very different films. But on a technical level, no, this is a better film, technically speaking, than The Lost Boys. But that's not why everybody loves The Lost Boys. But I digress on that. So I didn't really talk to them much about it on the way home because I was like, they're not going to. They didn't see it the way I did. That's fine. Nobody said they didn't like it, but I think the general vibe was it was fine, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, I loved it. I really did. Now, it's no secret that I had probably set myself up going into it that I was going to like it because I was like, everything I'm hearing and seeing just looks so damn good. Like, how could the marketing be lying to me so much? And it just turns out to be a piece of shit. Like, there's no way that's going to happen. And it didn't. There was a lot of reasons why I liked it. I mean, the visuals, like you said, that scene with Nicholas Hoult in the road was, I'm sitting there in the theater and I remember having like a moment right then being like, oh, this is it, man. Like this is, and I don't know if you noticed too, total silence when he's standing there, total silence. There's no music, nothing until the horse-drawn carriage comes up. That's when you start to get some noise, but just that scene, the introduction to Orlok, and surprisingly for a guy like Eggers, I wouldn't have pegged him as somebody that was going to have a lot of kills and death sequences in the movie. I thought it would actually be a lot. I don't know. I thought it'd be a little less linear because Robert Eggers does tell stories sometimes in very non-linear ways. But I would say that this actually was a really linear story from start to finish. And there were nice moments of brevity in there where it was like, oh, here's a kill scene. Oh, here's a scene with Warlock. I was like, okay, cool. Like, it's not just going to be all like, we have to wait till the very end. But yeah, I mean, I loved it, man. I said in my review, and I watched your review, and I do want to talk to you about one thing, but I said in my review, I can't think of anything right now that I would have changed or like a major gripe. And if that's the case, I don't know how I can give anything other than like the highest recommend. Like, there's nothing that I'm like, oh, well, this one thing they did, I was not cool with. No, I don't have any of that. So is it my favorite of the year? No. My favorite of the year is The First Omen. And I actually got that for Christmas. I got the 4K of that. I'm excited to watch that this week again because I haven't seen it since theaters. But I still think I'd give it to The First Omen. I think part of that was just because I was so surprised by how much I liked The First Omen because I had no expectations. Whereas with Nosferatu, I was like, dude, this is Eggers, Bill Skarsgård, like Willem Dafoe. This is going to be good. So I don't know. But, here's the one thing. I told you the other day, I was like, there is something I'm going to want to talk to you about.
Right.
In your review, you said, this is almost a perfect film. And you said, but if there were two complaints you had, and one of them was not that you felt like it was too long. You were very specific. I'm not saying it was too long, but I definitely did feel the length of it.
Right.
And then the other one was the mustache. And I've been listening to a lot of interviews with Eggers this week, and he's been asked that question 100 times. Why the mustache? Yeah. And he said very simply, he's like, well, I thought of what would a nobleman from Transylvania look like. Like they all had that kind of Vlad the Impaler look. I was trying to be like historically accurate. So the historical accuracy, I was like, okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. But also furthermore, and I said this to my brother before I even knew the real reason why Eggers did it, I was like, well, he's got to kind of somewhat look like mildly human in some ways. Like if he just looks like Max Schreck, like it's just, I don't know, like Max Schreck's look was that you couldn't have mistaken that for a human. And I mean, it's definitely hard for Count Orlok in this movie to look like a human. I'm not saying he looks human, but he looks more human than previous iterations. So I don't know. I mean, when he got the big ass fur coat on and he's got, the mustache going and stuff, really, you could say, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I didn't mind the mustache. I will say, though, when they first revealed it, I was actually surprised. I was like, a mustache? Huh. I don't know. And then as I got into the movie more and we saw him more, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
So had the performance not been as good as it was, I'd have more of a problem with it. It's the interesting thing. And I had a feeling he did that for some sort of historical reason. I didn't think he did it so much just to be different, but probably, like you said, because of the
Max Schreck look.
The culture, the way people look back then. But it's on the other side of that coin. The other side of that coin, it's like people hated. And I'm gonna bring this back to something that we can relate to. People hate the way Michael Myers looks in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Why does he look like a hobo? Why does he look? And the reason is in Rob Zombie's mind is this dude's not cutting his hair. This dude's not doing that. And he's right. And so is Robert Eggers. He's right. But you've got literally 100 years of a look of a character that is beloved. And not only that, you have my favorite version, which is also 45 years old in 1979. So it's not so much the historical making look of it to be more historical accuracy of the character, but it's what I love, not so much used to, but what I really love. So in my heart, I still would have taken that out. But had the performance not been as good as it was, it would have come across 1,000 times worse, I think. And luckily, you don't really like the best parts of the movie to me are in the castle when it comes to Nosferatu, 1,000%. And even then, you don't really see too much of. It's not like they're just shoving a mustache in your face. So, in my gut, just in my gut, I don't think it was necessary, even though it's historically accurate. I would have, because to me, the difference, like everybody's at least seen some of Nosferatu from 1922. Even if you've watched SpongeBob, you've seen it. I remember as a kid being like, "What the fuck is this?" There was that episode where Nosferatu was flipping the lights on SpongeBob.
Yeah.
But I also love Klaus Kinski's, and the thing about Klaus Kinski's Nosferatu is he's almost like a predator, and not like the Schwarzenegger movie, but somebody that has sick tendencies. In the 79 movie,
Yeah, like a Skeeter Jean victim.
he's sadistic. He's like almost mentally unstable. Like there's a moment in the 79 film where when the guy makes it to the castle, I'm bad about names of characters right now, so I apologize. There's a moment where Kinski sits him at the table and they're just drinking and stuff. And Kinski kind of just stands up. Go watch the movie, people. Like Nosferatu 79, go watch that. There's a moment where Kinski stands up and looks at him, and you can see the deranged, sick, twisted nature of his mind, like running circles real fast, and he can't control himself. And he almost lifts his hands up and walks towards him faster than a normal person would. Like he wants to touch him or do something sick to him. Like that's Kinski's Nosferatu. This Nosferatu was a fucking like beast, like a monster, almost like a mythical creature monster. There was this overt inherent like beast-like nature to the character. It seemed like a huge Nosferatu. There were already, in my opinion, enough physical and performance different type of things to where the last thing I would have been like, well, God, I wish they would have done like something physically different, like a mustache or something to differentiate it. There is zero chance in hell you could ever confuse Kinski's Nosferatu with this Nosferatu, Skarsgård. So to me, there were already enough things like in that sense to where, in my mind, if that wasn't in there, I really have nothing to really complain about. And it's like I said, if it wasn't for the performance being as good as I personally thought it was, then it would be I feel like it would have came across a lot more jarring. But because of how good he was, yeah, I'm not going to harp on it too much. I'm not going to lose my mind over it, so to speak. But
yeah,
I've got those thoughts, you know,
and I'll give you credit. I'll give you credit too, because like I said, you definitely downplayed the importance of that in your review. You didn't harp on it. You mentioned it, but you didn't mention it like, oh, this was such a horrible choice. No, it was just like hey, probably wouldn't have done this myself, but which is it's totally fair criticism.
Right.
The comparative that you used too, I thought was bang on when you were like, it's like Michael Myers for Rob's movies. People are like, why does he have a beard? Why does he have long hair? And I think maybe that's another reason why something like this didn't bother me, because like, even though we have the source material, even with Halloween, we had 30 years of that before Rob came along to where it was like, no, this isn't how Michael's supposed to look. But I guess it was just like, this is a new filmmaker trying to put their spin on a character that's been done to death. So, you know what? Hey, I'll give him a little bit of leeway, do what he wants to do. That doesn't mean it has to work, but this is his spin on it. Cool. Awesome. I didn't mind either, but there's a lot about this movie that's impressive. Did you know, and I've really, really been like researching a bunch about this, because it's just been it's one of those movies that's kind of lived in my head since I saw it. There's only 2 lines of dialogue in the entire movie that they had to modulate at all for Bill Skarsgård. Their only 2 lines are when he raises his voice. And Eggers said there was 2 lines where he had to really raise his voice, and when he did that, it got a little too high pitched, so they just like brought it down a little bit in post. But he was like 99% of what you hear coming from Orlok in this movie, that is picked up from the boom mic with Bill Skarsgård just talking, which is insane. Because I know we talked about like how he had been spending time with like an opera coach to train his voice down an octave and a dialect coach to really get guys. This is like a dead Hungarian / German language that he was speaking. This is not a live language. This isn't like straight up Hungarian these days or German. No, it's kind of like a dead dialect. So he got that down so well. And to know that like everything that he was saying was like, that's just in the moment. Like they didn't mess with that is crazy, dude. Like, because he's unrecognizable in the voice. There were a couple moments where if you're someone like me that's seen It and It Chapter 2 probably 10 times, in his inflection, you could go, that kind of sounded like Pennywise for a second there. So like there were moments like that for me where I was like, okay, I could tell that was Bill. But like if someone hadn't told you, you wouldn't have known. I mean, do you agree? Like looking at him, hearing the voice, unless someone told you that was Bill Skarsgård, you wouldn't have known.
No, I agree. That's why I'm so impressed with the guy. I didn't know to the severity of how authentic it was. I knew it might have been you that told me it. Like the guy basically like locked himself in a basement and just like created and just dialed in that character.
He scared Eggers. He scared Eggers. Eggers told him that he didn't want him to go to such dark places for it. And Bill Skarsgård was like, I have to go to dark places to play these kinds of roles. Like Eggers didn't want him to do that because he was like, this is not good for your mental health. And he's like, it's all good, dude. I got this. So yeah, he went to some dark places.
Yeah. I mean, there's a variety. I say a variety of opinions. I think there's really 3 opinions. There's people that really, really enjoy it. There's people that love the atmosphere of the movie, but they're thrown off by the mustache.
And say the B word. Say the third one. Say the fucking B word.
And people that think it's boring. Which I always like it when movies have a variety of opinions like that because I don't know. It's funny because like I like being part of the crowd when there's something that's super popular and I'm like, I see why it's popular. I love it. But it's also fun when you've like got a variety of opinions out there because it's also kind of cool when not everybody agrees with you. But at the same time, it's like none of that really. I've been around for 12 years, man. Like I really don't I don't really give a shit what other people think about movies or if they disagree with me at this point. Like you just build up callous of dealing with people saying you're fucking stupid, that movie sucked. Nobody's been like that. But my point is I genuinely do, in my opinion, that this is this generation's Bram Stoker's Dracula. The size and scale and scope of the movie is pretty much on par because Dracula feels like a massive movie. And I think this one is just right on par. And, you know, maybe they'll do maybe they'll follow up like Kinski's movie and they'll do because there was Nosferatu in Venice that came out a few years after.
No,
maybe they'll do a Nosferatu in Miami or something.
I was sending you the memes. That shit was so funny.
I saw that.
Nosferatu, Fast, Too Furious. I was like, dude, I want it.
Which look, dude, like it's one of those things. Like this movie is definitely not for everybody, and I think I even said that. Like, dude, this is an adult horror movie. Like, you have to sit. Like, but the thing is, dude, like the older I've gotten, I love it when the movie basically envelops the room when it's so atmospheric. Like, I really do thrive on that, which is still why I think the original Friday works so well. But this movie, like in the theater, like eventually, like the walls disappeared when I was watching this. Yeah. I mean, the walls disappeared and I was just, but that doesn't happen for everybody. It just depends, man. Like it depends, like your life experience, the stuff you're into, your style, all that can, you know, the day you go to see it, all that could be different. Yeah. Like I was watching, I watched a few people's reviews on the movie just because I like to see. Like sometimes I'll just look at chatter on the internet and stuff. But I saw your review and then I saw Piz's review. Piz absolutely hated it, which I was surprised. He hated it. He thought it was boring, and he thought he didn't like it at all. But my point is, like, dude, there's that opinion out there too. So I don't know, like, nobody can deny that Eggers makes the movie he wants to make. But to me, this is unequivocally his best movie.
Yep.
Like, I love The Witch. Lighthouse, I like it, but I can't ever watch it again.
Yeah.
And Northman I liked a lot too, but to me, this is his best movie.
Well, that's
Then
what I was saying
The
earlier.
Witch.
This linear storytelling. This is his most linear story from front to back. And I think that The Lighthouse is the antithesis of that. That is not a linear story. Like, I'm sorry. The Lighthouse is very all over the place. That's the point. You know, that cosmic horror kind of acid trip. Like, it's not really supposed to make all that much sense in the moment. It's supposed to sit with you for a while. And then The Witch, it is a linear story, but I just feel like this one is the most accessible. But that's the thing, like you just said, if this is Eggers at his most accessible, he's definitely a niche filmmaker. Like, he's never going to make something that's like, he got announced to do a remake of Labyrinth this weekend. Right after this came out, David Bowie's Labyrinth, he got tapped as the director. It seems like it's in his wheelhouse because it is a very odd movie, very odd world. I think he could do really well in it. And then in one of the interviews he did this weekend, they were like, could you ever see yourself making a contemporary movie? And he said, fuck no. He was like, the thought of filming an automobile or a cell phone makes me want to vomit. He's like, I'm never going to put that to camera. Right. So he's always going to do period pieces. He's just, yeah. I mean, but I still think this is his most accessible in the sense of you're not going to be watching this movie not understanding it. Like, it is, you understand what's going on. Now, whether it jives with you or not, totally different thing. But you understand. Whereas The Lighthouse, I mean, you got to be honest. Me too. I remember when I watched The Lighthouse, there were multiple moments where I was like, dude, what the fuck is happening? Like, what is happening?
Oh, it's fascinating. I remember the first time I watched it. I've watched it 1 1/3 time. I watched the movie when I bought the Blu-ray, and I was literally like, dude, when you haven't seen it before, you literally don't know where this is going. I mean, it's a trip. And Willem Dafoe is obviously, Eggers loves working with Dafoe. I think the only movie Willem wasn't in was The Witch with him.
Yep.
But it's like, that movie is just like, what is this? What reality is this? But my wife put it on maybe a year later, and I came home from work and she was watching it, and I sat there for a few minutes, and because I'd seen it and I know what was about to happen, I wasn't enthralled with what I was seeing anymore. And I remember I was like, I can't watch this. She's like, what's wrong? I said, because I love this movie, but I know if I watch this again, I could just tell I'm not going to like it. I can't watch it. So I will never watch The Lighthouse ever again.
Did she like it?
Oh, she loved it. But Sydney's a David Lynch fanatic. So dude, anything that makes zero sense, she loves it. So yeah, it's totally in her wheel. She loved it. And she also loves Willem Dafoe, but then again, who doesn't? So she loved The Lighthouse, and I know she'll like Nosferatu.
Well, see, here my thing is, the reason I pressed you on, I knew we were going to talk about it. I'm literally putting it in the thumbnail, and you and I have texted about this. Yeah. Boring. And clearly boring, like that, whether someone finds something boring or not, I mean, that's just your personal taste. Like, if something's not for you, it's not for you. That's totally fine. But the reason that criticism sometimes does irk me is when people take that a step too far. And I got a comment on my review of somebody I'd never seen before on my channel. So I'm sure they found me through my review, and they were like, this is bullshit. Like, this guy is full of shit. This movie is boring, total waste of money. It absolutely sucked. Nothing happens until the very end. Mm-hmm. Don't waste your money. This guy's a shill, basically, which is always great. I love when you do a review and some random calls you a shill. Like, if Focus Features is paying me, let me know, because I need to get a new car and the check hasn't hit yet. But like, so that's where it bothers me, when it's like, if you can see no merit in the movie because you found it boring, I just don't fuck with that. I feel like that's a really lazy argument. Like, yeah. I always appreciate when someone's like, man, I felt like it moved way too slow for my taste. but I totally get, the merit there. It looked great. The performances were great, but it's just not my style of movie. Totally respect that. But when it's like, yeah, it bored me, so it fucking sucked. That's when I'm like, okay, well, I mean, what can you do? Like what can you do? I don't like that argument.
No, you can't do nothing about that. And the thing about the boring argument is I like it when if somebody tells me they like a movie or dislike a movie, man, I love it when they can articulate why they didn't like it. You don't have to agree with what they said, but if they can articulate like didn't like it, but the boring argument is tough because if they're coming at it in good faith and they just say, you know what, man, like I tried, I sat there and I found it boring. Like I felt I was like that with Session 9. But listen, guys, I just find it boring. The movie's an old friend to me now because I want to be on the train of being like, yeah, I get it. I love Session 9. So I don't hate it anymore. But like, because I've watched it so much, it's like meeting up with an old buddy. But my point is, if you come at it in good faith, the problem with the boring argument is you can't counter that. If you're passionate about a movie and you want to convert somebody, because we're all guilty of wanting to convert somebody about a movie, you can't counter the boring argument if it's in good faith. But yeah, you're gonna get that kind of stuff where it's just like biggest POS ever. Like really? Nosferatu.
Nosferatu is fucking garbage. Like, you're right, but I'm just and I know you understand exactly what I'm saying because like there's basic tenets of like film. Were the performances good? Did the story make sense? Were the visuals good? Was the music good? Okay, it's not a piece of shit then. If it wasn't your style, totally get that. Totally get it. If it moved too slow for you, totally get that. But let's not act like this was Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Like to be fair, I haven't seen a lot of discourse about this movie. I think the worst I've seen is that one comment that I got from, again, like I said, random, never seen the person before. But like, the complaints I've seen, they haven't been crazy, DeJesus, Dylan DeJesus, right? Yeah. That's his name, right? Yeah. His first name. I want to get his name right. Does DeJesus custom footwear? Yeah. It's comments like his that are like, I tried. I found it really slow. Like I just found it really boring. Right. Like I couldn't really get into it. And I totally get that. And I respect that. But
dude, I'm obsessed with I'm obsessed with Dracula culture. All that castle stuff, man. I grew up playing the Castlevania video games and like, dude, I'm obsessed with that lore. I love it. So it's like it's kind of in my own DNA to like that sort of stuff. But dude, like of course this movie's not for everybody. And if you told me if you told me your top 5, not you, but like I could tell you if you'd like it or not. But I don't know. I feel like if people like Bram Stoker's Dracula, they'd like this. But then again, maybe not. I don't know. Because Bram Stoker's Dracula definitely felt more Hollywood. As big as this movie felt, I don't think it felt super Hollywood. It still had a very eclectic kind of I don't know what the word. I really don't know what the word is I'm looking for. It's
very niche. It is very niche. It did not seem like your super mass marketable Hollywood gobbledygook. Like I know what you're saying. I don't know the right word to put to it, but yeah, it still seems very like this. It screams this movie's not going to be for everyone. Like it's just one of those movies.
Well, I feel like Eggers hasn't been sanitized yet.
No.
You know what I mean? Like he hasn't gotten that way yet. It's maybe if you would have told me that Eggers would end up being the bigger director than Ari Aster, I would have laughed at you. I'd have been like, no way. Hereditary and Midsummer, this guy's going to be making the next Halloween in a few years, right? And then if you'd have told me The Witch and The Northman, I'd be like, it's just he's too niche. He's not going to break. Now nobody's talking. I feel like nobody's really talking about Ari Aster. I hated that Beau is Afraid movie, and now Robert Eggers. You need to see it because it's fucking weird.
Isn't it like 3 hours long? And the entire premise, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be oversimplifying this, but I believe the premise is something to do with like doesn't it revolve around like an orgasm? Like.
Yeah, a little bit. Like it's all these random kind of it doesn't feel like a movie. It's strange circumstances and scenes. I've never seen anything like it, but man, I just wanted my money back.
That's not always a good thing. Be like, I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, it's like, no, I hear what you're saying. I had no interest.
It is 3 hours.
But
it's like it's all about this guy Joaquin's confronting all these weird scenarios and fears he's have in his mind, but none of it just doesn't work to me. But it seems like it got pretty good reviews. But I'm not really the biggest Joaquin Phoenix guy. Like, I like him, but I don't think he's one of the greatest actors of the world.
You watch Joker 2 yet?
No, I did not. It's not high on my priority list, but I know you wanted me to.
I do
want to see it because Quentin Tarantino was like, "Fuck everybody, this movie was great."
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is my boss. I don't see him a lot, but he came around to my store the other day and he goes, "Hey, do you see Joker 2?" I was like, "Yeah, dude. I was one of the few people that liked it." He's like, "I just watched it this weekend on Max." I was like, "Okay, yeah, this guy's gonna lambaste me."
See, why did you open up with "I liked it"? Rookie mistake. Never open up with "Yeah, I liked it."
Well, he goes, "I actually liked it." He's like, "I actually dug it." Like, he's like, "I thought it was cool," and I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, I'm not alone here. Yeah, no, I like Joaquin a lot. I actually think he's an actor that, in my opinion, I think he's done stronger performances as his career has gone on. But part of that could simply just be that he's getting better roles. I think that no matter what you think of Joker 2 when you finally see it, it's a good role in the sense of like it's going to require a good actor to pull that role off, just like the first Joker was. I think he's getting a little bit more to chew on now as his career goes on. But back to like the Eggers and Ari Aster thing. Look, my whole thing with that, dude, and I know there's some big Ari Aster stands, and I'm not trying to piss anybody off, but like, I think that Aster, how you fucking say his name, he got too big for his britches. I think Hereditary was a smash hit, came out of nowhere, was getting talked about as the best horror movie in decades. And I think
it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But I think he took that praise, I think, the wrong way. Like, I think it was more like he became more overindulgent. And I mean that because, like, his next two movies are these 3-hour long, trying to say so much more than is actually being put on screen. Oh, there's so much symbolism. You just don't get it. You just don't get it. And it's just like,
what were the next 3 movies? Beau Was Afraid, Midsummer,
no,
what else?
Just the next 2. It was just Midsummer and Beau Was Afraid. And
that's all he's done?
Yeah, and I didn't hate Midsummer. Like, I didn't hate it, but I've always said
you've definitely said you've hated it in the past.
No, I literally have called it 15 times Midsummer. Like, I think it is, compared to Hereditary, I think it sucks. Standing on its own, I think it's mid, average, whatever. It's totally forgettable, in my opinion. That's just how I feel about it. But unfortunately, that's the Dark Knight Rises thing. When you follow up a freaking banger, how do you follow that up? Like, you can't
followed up with fucking Interstellar, dude. What are you talking about? You followed up with Interstellar.
Yes, but you know what I mean. We see this happen way too many times in directors' filmography, where they have an incredible movie and then their next one is like, it's not going to get the same kind of praise because it's following that one. So I don't know. And then, Beau Was Afraid. I was just like, what are you even doing here, man? Like, this is like film school. I just want to be different to be different bullshit. And I don't know. It just doesn't jive with me. I hope he does another horror movie because from what I heard, Beau Was Afraid is not a horror movie, correct?
It is, but it's labeled as a horror comedy, but the best thing besides, I'll tell you this right now, the best thing besides Hereditary that he's involved with, he was a producer apparently for Dream Scenario, which I remember telling you how much I love that. Dude, that movie was fucking incredible. That's one of the best Nick Cage movies today. I'm not even bullshitting you. Dude, there are moments in that visually that scarred me for like 4 days. I told you about that, right? I'm not bullshitting. Dude, listen to me. All right, so Dream Scenario, Nick Cage is this middle-aged professor dad. And all of a sudden, somebody has a dream. And it's like, people have dreams that are just like, they make zero sense. Like like, for an example, you're walking on the beach and there's like a naked person with one leg and they don't do anything to you, but they're just looking at you. And like, you're in this weird sensory plane where like that doesn't bother you and you're just walking, but you wake up and you're like, what the? And sometimes you don't even really remember what you're dreaming, but it was fucking bizarre. Well, imagine you have one of those dreams, but Nick Cage is just in your dream. He's just there. Well, one person sees him and he's like, you were in my dreams. Who are you? And then another person does. And then before you know it, the whole town is dreaming, having these lucid, weird dreams. And Nick Cage is in there. And there's a part of the movie, and I'll stop right here because I don't want to spoil it, where he's a phenomenon. People are talking about him. That's the guy in my dreams. And he goes, what happened in your dream? And this guy's like, well, I was walking through a field and this naked guy covered in blood is chasing me with a chainsaw and these hand blades. And I saw you. I was running through and you just looked at me. And there was other dreams people start describing where it's fucking disturbing. And they show it, obviously. Like as the dreams are being talked about, they show the dream. And there's stuff in this movie visually that is fucked. And I don't want to spoil it, but it is so good. I'm a fucking idiot for not watching this when it came out because this was a Nick Cage movie. And I think it's A24, but that is the best thing Ari Aster's been involved with besides Hereditary. It was A24. It was Saturn Films, whatever the fuck that is. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but I love Dream Scenario. Like I loved it so much. And people were telling me to check it out, and I was just like, it just sounds so stupid. It just goes to show you, though, dude. Sometimes stuff that sounds stupid is actually really good.
Oh, so. No. I mean, I've been caught many times with egg on my face with stuff like that. I mean, I look at one of the prime examples of that in my life was Happy Death Day. I remember that movie was killing it at the box office. Everybody said they liked it. And I was like, there's no way this is going to be as good as people say it is. I'm not going to see this in the theaters. This looks stupid. Right. And watched it on streaming like 6 months later. And I was like, dude, that was awesome. That was so fun. Like, I can't believe that. Because
it was entertaining, man. Like, it's like, if it just rested on the laurels of a story that's been done before, but it's beloved like Groundhog Day, it would have fell flat on its face. But that movie never stopped and never let up. And it was just like scene after scene, shit's going to hit the fan. And it was great. I loved it. I still don't like the second one, but I loved Happy Death Day.
I know. I'm in the vast minority with that opinion of the second one, but I don't know. I guess for me, the thing that worked the most for the first one wasn't the slasher aspect. It was the sci-fi comedy aspect. So the fact that the second one doubled down on that, I was like, okay, cool. Because PG-13 slashers don't ever really work all that well for me anyway. So like, that wasn't my biggest takeaway with the first movie. Like, yeah, it was technically a slasher, but it wasn't a super effective one. It was a lot more fun at everything else it was doing. Right. But yeah, and I still want the third one. I'll die on that hill. But yeah, so I mean, look, with wrapping up the talk about Nosferatu, look, man, this is going to be one of those movies I can't wait to get a 4K. I hope that this thing is just littered with special features. Because I just really, really want to dive more into this movie. And I think that if nothing else, and I want to see if you agree, I don't think that Eggers is ever going to get sanitized, but I think that this is the movie that's going to kind of catapult him into like, he was already popular amongst like genre fans. I think like people knew of him, but I think you're going to start to see Eggers do a lot more Hollywood productions in the sense of like movies that aren't niche. Like they're still going to be niche because he is niche. Like it's going to be period pieces. They're going to be different. Like I said, Labyrinth, but they're going to be movies that get some notoriety, get some attention, make some money at the box office. I really think that Nosferatu is his breakout, which might be crazy because I'm sure there's some Eggers fans listening right now that are like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like The Witch was a big deal and The Lighthouse. But not really, guys. It was a big deal for us, genre fans. But these weren't movies that cleaned up at the box office that people talked about, aside from people like us.
Right.
Nosferatu is entering different territory for him. You know, this is opening like a Halloween movie or a Scream movie. That's a big fucking deal. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
I gotta be honest. The idea of him redoing Labyrinth just sounds like shit to me. I have no.
I hate
desire
it
to
too.
see it.
I didn't like Labyrinth, so I already did. I wouldn't have a desire in a remake anyway, personally. But
I mean, you just did a remake. You just did one. Now you gonna do another one?
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. No, I hear you, man. I'm not the biggest fan of that either. I'd really like to see him do. I like his original stuff. I mean, although it's crazy because my favorite movie of his is not an original idea. But I think in a lot of ways that he added some flair to this movie that I did feel like was kind of a breath of fresh air, because this very much was. This is the Dracula movie for this generation. Like, let's just call a spade. And anybody that knows anything about Nosferatu knows that it was plagiarism in a way. Like, it was and it wasn't. It was like, it was a Dracula movie without being able to call it Dracula. So this is definitely like this generation's Dracula. But I mean, yeah, I'd like to see him cook something up weird, you know, something unique to himself. And we'll see. Maybe it'll eventually happen. I don't know. But because yeah, the idea of a Labyrinth remake in general doesn't excite me. So it doesn't really matter who's directing it. Why not give it to David Gordon Green? You know? What's he doing?
I do wonder what he's gonna like. What's his next thing gonna be? Like, I haven't heard shit from him.
He took a lashing from pretty much everyone. I think he's kind of laying low for a bit. I feel bad for the guy. I do. You know, I overall liked that trilogy. I had my issues with it, but let's be honest. Halloween fans are kind of impossible to please. We're always going to have issues with any iteration of the character.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, I think I'd take any of his I really do. Like, I think I'd take any of his Halloween movies over the Exorcist movie. I've rewatched it, dude. It really just pissed it. And I don't necessarily blame him, but shit runs downhill. And at the end of the day, the director has the bullseye on his back.
Yeah.
So I still think it's the best thing for him, because it was going to end in tragedy for him. We all knew that. And I didn't think anybody thought he was going to get fired, but we all knew that like this Exorcist movie was not going to pan out that great. Like, I did eventually. I never bought it. I rewatched it on Peacock, on the cock, and dude, like it's insane. The mama's dialogue is terrible. It's terrible, and I swear, Flanagan literally has to move the world's biggest rock, metaphorically, to fix all this shit. I really do. And who knows what the fuck he's gonna do. I believe he can pull off another Ouija Origin of Evil, but this is, you know, I rewatched Hush because I got the 4K of that a while back, and the dude's good, man. Like, I don't know how many movies he's made. I feel like I've probably seen them all. Let me see.
Yeah. Gerald's Game, Hush, Ouija Origin of Evil. Dr.
Gerald's
Sleep.
Game was on Netflix. That was really good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Absentia. That was his first movie. I've seen Oculus.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen Before I Wake. I don't think I have.
That movie's
Gerald's Game was great. I remember because I think it was a Netflix movie. That was really good. Dr. Sleep's great. And what the fuck is The Life of Chuck?
It hasn't come out yet. It had a premiere at a film festival recently, but it has not come out. It hasn't gotten a release yet, I don't believe.
Oh, well. No, I watched. I remember watching The Midnight Club on Net. I watched one episode of it. I did not like that, but it
wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah, Midnight Mass is obviously a masterpiece. Bly Manor is great, and Hill House is great too. So I'm rooting for him, man. I really am. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't want to see Linda Blair in these movies. I really don't. I swear to
I
God,
don't.
I don't.
I don't think she's going to be Christian. I think that this is probably going to work out in the favor of those who don't want to see her come back. The fact that she did come back at the end of Believer, and then Believer was the disaster critically and commercially that it was, I don't think she's going to be in a part of the plans.
Well, let's be real. I don't think Linda Blair gives a rat's ass whether people like the movie or not. She got paid very well.
I think Jason Blum does, and I think they're just not going to revisit it.
I hope
because this is not is not going to be a sequel.
Where do you go? Where do you go from that?
Well, they already said, Mike Flanagan already said that his idea is an original idea. It is not a sequel to Believer. The only thing I can think of is that this is going to be, in a way, like a spiritual sequel to the original. Not a requel, though. I don't think they're going to do the requel route like Believer. I think they're going to do the route of like, yes, that happened 50 years ago. This is a similar story, but separate. I'm sure it's going to share some DNA. I mean, maybe it is Captain Howdy. You know, maybe it's the same demon. But I don't think it's going to be a requel. I really do think they're going to try to do something entirely different.
So I just saw this. I haven't posted this video publicly yet, but I did my review and it's on my Patreon and everything. I rewatched this the other day. Hellraiser Judgment, my 4K. Look at this. Look at this, dude. Look how nice this is. And on the back. So I wanted to talk about this for just a minute. This is the 5th best Hellraiser film. Like I'll go 1 through 4 and then I'll go right to Judgment. There's a couple in there that are not bad. Like Deader's kind of fun. It's not good, but it's kind of fun. But dude, Judgment, dude, I like this movie a lot. I think The Auditor is hands down the best thing about Judgment, which is obviously Gary himself. But I like this movie, dude. Like rewatching that again on 4K was really great. I mean, the movie looked really good on 4K, but I'm impressed that they made this, because watching it again, because I watched the movie the first time on my phone, believe it or not, but like watching the movie on my TV and stuff, dude, Gary was pretty smart to distress all those colors in the movie, especially like in the beginning when they're in that barn house.
Oh, that shit's sick.
He made it look like it was like hell, right? And I think that was smart because this was a small budget movie. So for him to do that, to distress the movie and give it this just burnt kind of like hellish look, probably elevated the movie visually like a lot more than anybody probably would have anticipated. But dude, that auditor character, I just want more. What I love is, remember when like he's got the guy in the beginning and he's like, just tell me your crimes. He's talking to him like he's just trying to, the way he's talking to him is like he's just trying to help him open a bank account. Like, what's your social security? That's what's so great about that. I just love it. I really do like, I think it's 2-1, 3-4, and then I'd go Judgment, which is just nuts to me. Because I was just like, how many fucking Hellraiser movies are there? But dude, it's good. It's sad that it cost him his friendship with Doug. But dude, what's crazy, I don't know if you get this, it's on Diabolic if you want it. They don't have this cover, but they have the silver cover, which is kind of the poster. He does an interview on this, which we interviewed him. If people want to go out and check out that video where we did interview him, dude, he straight up just says exactly what happened with Doug in detail on here. And it's just fucking sad. Like he's even, like, he talks about it in detail, and it's just like, fuck, are you supposed to be saying all this? He's like, so I talked, like he was talking about sharing emails with Doug. Like it was crazy shit. But Doug felt like that movie was going to be a rights movie the way Revelations was.
Yeah.
So,
oh God.
It's good though. I want people to check that movie out if you haven't seen it. Hellraiser Judgment, man. It's fucking good. Yeah,
it's one of those 10th movies in a series that you're just like, before you even get to that point, you're probably like, well, none of these are going to be good at this point. It has no business being as good as it is for being a 10th movie in a series, especially a series that has largely been straight to DVD. But I can say wholeheartedly with Judgment, it is pretty solid, and it would have been so much better had it had a little bit bigger of a budget, and
If it had Doug, dude,
Doug, yeah.
if it had Doug, dude, like, fuck, I really wouldn't have a whole lot to complain about.
No,
Because
And
I like the idea of bringing in heaven along with hell, and they both kind of fuck with each other's. They, like, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but like, I like the elements he brought in. I did. Like, it's just a good movie.
yeah, and get a nice cameo by Heather Langenkamp as a landlord.
Yeah,
Yeah,
best performance she's done, dude.
yeah. Hey, I didn't say it, you did. Yeah, dude. Judgment's solid. I don't know what's going on with that franchise, man. I really, really don't. I think that they totally missed the boat with putting that reboot out on Hulu solely. I mean, that's not
Yeah,
that.
it was stupid. It would
Yeah,
have
whether
theaters.
yeah, whether someone loved it or hated the movie, like it would have made money and revitalized the brand a little bit. And I just think it was stupid. There was a couple movies that really were a product of those COVID times that just sucks. Like that these studios there was these mandates to release them as streaming movies, and it's just like shit, man. Oh,
I don't. Yeah, maybe they'll do another one. I don't know. I heard they were going to.
well, they've been apparently writing a script for 2 years, so you know how that goes. Yeah, we're still working on it. That means they haven't gotten the green light, and they're probably not going to. Speaking of which, have you? I don't stay up with this stuff, obviously, as much as some do, and I know that when it comes to physical media, you know your shit. Has there been any word whatsoever on a Barbarian physical release, or is that thing just never going to happen?
I don't think it's. I say it's never going to happen. The guy that was a producer on it said that, like, a company was hired to film interviews and gather behind and edit basically behind the scenes stuff. But dude, that was basically like 6 months after the movie came out, where he talked about that on Twitter. So there may be a chance Scream Factory will do it, because they're kind of like trying to get newer movies to put in their catalog. Like they're doing Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I was excited about, which I pre-ordered that. So there maybe Scream Factory will do it, but
Yeah.
it's nothing. It's not on the horizon. I haven't heard anything about it.
What is what's the coup de grace for you? Based off of the shit you got for Christmas, like what's the one thing that you were like, oh, this was the gift that you were most psyched about?
I'm not trying to sound like a downer, but nothing really. Like I usually get when it comes to like movies and stuff, I stay on top of that myself. My mom got me Torso on 4K, which is an old 70s giallo, but that's just because she was like, well, I want to get you something, so I just told her to get me that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it is. I got myself this. Let me find it. So I'm going to do a video on this. I paid $10 for this. The Blockbuster exclusive Rob Zombie's Halloween DVD.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to do this is because, like, my favorite things to do on my channel are these old DVD videos. And it says exclusive bonus footage inside the mind of Rob Zombie. And I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but look, it's even a Blockbuster exclusive DVD on there. So I'm going to do a video about that and watch that. So
did you see that online, or did you see that in a store?
I bought it online. So what happened was I was on the treadmill one day and I was watching A&E. Like, I'm sure you watch this stuff too. Best cop chases and best cop. I love all that stuff. So I was watching that, and for some reason on the treadmill, unbeknownst to me, I had this vision of me back in high school going to Blockbuster, and I thought about this, and I was thinking to myself, was that real? And sure enough, I went to Google and typed in Blockbuster Halloween unrated, because what happened was I was like, oh, my thing's not focusing. Let me see if it'll focus. What happened was I had this idea of Rob Zombie's Halloween autograph DVD, and it popped into my head because, Nick, I'm the weirdest guy. I get the most invested in these types of movies when I shouldn't. So, like, right now, I talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween for 4 hours. Like, I would right now. I do it because, like, during Halloween time, for some reason, I'm always just like, I want to talk about something else. But in January, I'll fucking talk about it. So I had this idea in my head. I was like, wait a minute. I swear to God, I remember a signed Rob Zombie's DVD you could buy. And I remembered it was at Hot Topic. They were limited because I remember seeing at my Hot Topic in high school, you could have bought Rob Zombie's Halloween on DVD autographed by him. And then I was like, there was another one I thought about, and that's when I was remembered. It was a Blockbuster exclusive DVD, which there were other movies like this. And I was like, man, I'm going to go buy that. So I went online and I got this for $10 with like $1.99 shipping. And I'm just going to make a fun video about this. I'm going to make like a skit of me going to like Blockbuster and green screen in me or something. And I want to talk about whatever that feature is and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that was my
just,
Christmas gift.
You just hold on. Give me 10 seconds because now I want to grab something and show it. This is unorthodox. I don't normally do this when we're doing the podcast.
I'll talk to the people.
Okay.
Guys, I love gutter garbs. Check this out. I have these. I have the Captain Spaulding mug. Gutter Garbs also did a Halloween 6 mug, the pumpkin. Now, I don't drink out of these. I just keep them on the desk. And oddly enough, they did something else with Rob Zombie. They did a Michael Myers mug, Rob Zombie's Michael Myers mug. So I have all 3 mugs that Gutter Garbs did. But Gutter Garbs also did a Maximum Overdrive mug. You can get that. And they did a My Bloody Valentine mug, which I didn't get that, but I kind of wish I did. The coolest one is obviously this big, beautiful Halloween 6 pumpkin mug that they did, which I love dearly. But they are beautiful on the desk. I have these as desk toppers on here. I got a big wooden desk in here. So I got my 3 mugs, and I kind of put stuff in them. I put little cords in them that I need, or little adapters for cameras, and I'll put them in there. So that's what I do with these. But the latest one I got was that one, the Captain Spaulding one. No, the Rob Zombies one. That's the latest one I got, which kind of looks like Rob Zombie's Halloween, but it's a little too clean and white. I wish they would have made it where it was distressed, but beggars can't be choosers when it comes to Rob Zombie mugs.
All right, Christian. So you reminded me of something, and I want to know.
Just cough it up, dude. What is in your throat? Are you sick?
No, I'm still getting over being sick. So it
just sounds like you got something like right there.
Yeah. No, I'm still getting over it. But anybody that might have gotten this. So my unrated director's cut DVD that I got of Halloween back in 07, 08 when it came out on DVD, it came with this thing on the inside. And it's like this, it's not like you get the chapter inserts or stuff like that. No, this is 35 free music downloads on emusic.com. And
oh, that's cool.
I have no idea what emusic.com was, but this, I guess, was you go to this website and you choose from over 2.8 million songs, and you can download 35 free songs onto your MP3 player. But I thought it was cool because it was like, so here's this item for downloading these songs, but it's like a part of it, it's just Halloween. Like it has nothing to do with Halloween, but I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Well, I got news for you.
Shit like that.
It's a website. And I went to the search bar and I just typed in Rob Zombie. It's all indie music, dude. Like there is no Rob Zombie in here. It's indie labels and indie artists. So it's not like Spotify or anything like that. It is all indie stuff. All of it. There's no signed artists on here. Like you can't find like Under Oath or Black Sabbath or Rob Zombie or Marilyn Manson on here.
I wonder what the deal was for like packaging this with Halloween. Like I don't.
Here's the context to this too is that was 2008 or 2007, depending on probably 2008 when the DVD came out because it was the movie came out in September or August. It might have came out. It might have came out December of 07. Just depends. My point. It doesn't matter. My point is, at that time, eMusic probably did have major acts on there. Which now there are nothing company. It looks like there's just a bunch of random shit. It's still a website.
You don't want to burn that stuff onto your MP3 player,
but you probably just pay 99 cents a song on there, and yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah,
I mean, I
it's
was
just
still buying
weird.
CD. I was still buying CDs in 2007, but I was opening them up on iTunes to burn them and then put them on my iPod.
Oh, brother, I was still using a CD player. I remember Christmas '09, or Christmas '08 or '09, I got Linkin Park's A Thousand Suns CD, and I remember sitting out in my garage on Christmas morning with my fucking CD player and my headphones and just listening to that album.
Speaking of Rob Zombie, I really hope he announces his next movie soon. I know he's got to do something soon. Like the last thing he did was The Munsters, and that was 2022. Like it's time. It's time to announce what you're doing next.
That's assuming he even is going to. I mean, we've talked about this on here before. His most recent interviews make it sound like he's not in a rush to do another movie.
Well, no, but I don't know. Like as long as I know he's gonna do something independent, or I think with Universal, he basically said, "I'll do it if you leave me alone," which
Yeah.
obviously he still has post Weinstein syndrome, so I don't blame him. But I'm ready for the next Rob Zombie movie, man. The
He needs
problem
to
is
go
if it's
back
something
and
he's
work.
gonna write, it's gonna take him. It may be a while.
Well, he needs to go back and work with Lionsgate, man. Like they used to have a good relationship. Lionsgate is what saved House of a Thousand Corpses, and then when House of a Thousand Corpses made money, Universal was like, "Just kidding. We love you, Rob. Can we use this stuff?" He needs to go back with Lionsgate, I think, but I just think he likes the independent. And that's fine. I just
Well,
I
he's got fuck you money, so like he's not only at this point he's only gonna make a movie if he can do what he wants, and I don't blame him. Why
Yeah.
deal with that shit if you don't have to?
Yeah. I just remember when he was like, as a director, for better or worse, when he was kind of like the name that people were talking about for a 5 to 10 year period, he was one of those directors that everybody was talking about.
It was huge,
Yeah.
huge.
And then, he started to do independent stuff and people just stopped paying attention, aside from hardcore genre fans, of course. But I totally agree. I want to see more from him because I can't lie to you, dude. I actually not long ago went back and gave 3 from Hell a second watch. Everything that I loved about House and Rejects is pretty much gone in that movie, and it just doesn't. It's not a terrible movie. It just doesn't feel the same. Like it just feels like such a watered down retread of stuff we've already seen done better. And then obviously the Munsters. I loved the look of the Munsters. Like he nailed that aesthetic. Obviously, I knew he would. He's a super fan, but it's not really a Rob Zombie movie in the way that I think of Rob Zombie movies. I really want to see Rob Zombie come back and just piss people off. You know what I mean? Like just do something fucked up, man. Like I don't know. I miss it. We got to piss him off.
I definitely want him to do something that's like backwoods, like discuss. Like let him. I just wish they'd let him do Hills Have Eyes. Whoever owns.
I was going to say Wrong Turn.
Just let him do it. Just say, Rob, do Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah, you got to think we're probably coming up on another reboot of that soon. It's been about 20 years or so. We're probably coming up on that.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you this earlier. With this 4K collection of Nightmare, do you think that this is, obviously there's no way to know. This is literally just speculation. I'm just asking you gut check right now. Do you think that like maybe this says anything about things, wheels turning behind the scenes at Warner Brothers? Maybe they're starting to get the Freddy kick. Maybe there is something going on there, because for the longest time you couldn't pay Warner Brothers to talk about Freddy, let alone put out a 4K collection. Like,
I think that a new Nightmare movie is essentially what Freddy versus Jason is in the 90s now. Like there's probably so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes, start, stop, that we don't know about. So it's possible that they're still waiting on quote unquote getting the right script, doing this or that. It's hard to, it's hard to say. Typically what happens is when when a remake, it's usually backwards. Like usually when you see a movie getting remade again, then the movie gets pushed out. Like we saw when Rob Zombie's Halloween came out, Anchor Bay put out that new DVD of Halloween with the slipcover with the shiny cover. Like it's usually that way. Like The Crow, when that got remade, we saw Paramount put out the original in 4K. But with Elm Street, obviously there's nothing on the forefront, but they're finally just they put out the original on its anniversary, and now they're going to do the next year the collection. So probably not.
Well, I guess it's just me hoping like when this inevitably does well, and it will. I mean, this 4K set's gonna sell like hotcakes. Part of me is hoping that maybe lights a fire under Warner Brothers and maybe goes like, oh wow, Freddy's still popular. Like, wow, I didn't really think about that. I'm sure you saw that tweet, 2 weeks or so ago where somebody said like Freddy's not on the Mount Rushmore. It kind of went semi-viral. Like even John Squires, the head of Bloody Disgusting, like quoted their tweet and was like, yes, he is 100% on the Mount Rushmore. And the original poster and I actually got into a little bit of a back and forth because I quoted it as well. And he was like, damn, like, by looking at your page, like someone that has like controversial opinions like yourself, I would think that you could respect this. And I said something along the lines of like, it's not controversial opinions are great, but like, this is just factually incorrect. Like to make the argument that Freddy Krueger's not on the Mount Rushmore is just brain rot. That's what I called it. I was like, it's just brain rot. Like it's just, and some people were going to the defense and going, well, we're more or less just talking about like where things stand currently. Like this generation doesn't know Freddy. And I pushed back on that. And I said, yeah, they do. Everybody does. You could have said the same thing about Halloween. It had been a decade and that movie came back and did gangbusters. So like, I don't buy that argument personally. I really don't.
I can't even entertain that. I can't even entertain the thought of that. Freddy's still in the DNA of horror today, all over the place. It's just that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't see it then. Because it would have been like that would have been made your brain hurt. It made mine hurt. I mean, when you got notable people in the horror community, like I said, like the head of Bloody Disgusting, like reaching out and being like, "This is stupid." You've definitely touched a nerve, but I think that was the intent. I'll be honest. I think it was
there's been like 15 wrong turn movies over the last 15 years. So why is Wrong Turn not on the Mount Rushmore? Like movies, because a movie hasn't come out, that's a really weird barometer to use for being on the Mount Rushmore. That's a really weird barometer. I don't really get that.
I would honestly, Christian, I would hate to ask Gen Z what their Mount Rushmore of horror is, because it's probably Annabelle and like,
and you know what? If that's what they gravitate towards, then at least they have something that they, But the problem is, whenever they go back and see those, it's like, dude, I still see it. Like, I'll get messages from guys that are really guys, just kids, like 18, 19-year-old kids that either find a video of mine or whatever, and they start getting into these movies, and it's like, dude, it's just like us. And a lot of them are just like me. It's just like, they tell me, dude, I just saw Reanimator, and this is like a 19, and they're like, I've never seen anything like this. And then it's just like, they fall in love with it. So it's like, it's still happening. Yeah. People are finding those movies from the 80s. Like, it's like, man, sometimes I wonder if the 80s gets a little over sensationalized, but then again, it's like, dude, you go back and watch those movies. It's like, a lot of them are still so goddamn fun.
For Christmas, I got my younger brother, the Blu-ray of Happy Birthday to Me. And, he opened it and my mom saw him open
Death Day to Me, you mean? Or Happy? Oh, you're talking about the slasher movie, Happy Birthday to Me. Okay,
yeah, Happy Birthday to Me. Yeah, and
the way you said it just didn't sound like a horror movie. I don't know why.
No, it doesn't. And I remember he opened it, and my mom was like, "Oh my God, I remember that movie. I saw that movie in theaters," and I was like, "Yeah." It is crazy, but I tried to impress that upon my younger brother at a much younger age. Like, don't watch just the shit that's coming out nowadays. Like, because if you do that, you're going to miss a lot of really great shit. Sure. There's going to be some shit in there, but like every fucking era of horror has that. So But all right, last thing before we go,
Sure.
I gotta ask you.
Yes.
I know you're more plugged into this than I am. I know you are because I don't know
Okay.
shit about this. What's your theory on all these drones? What's going on
Oh,
with
the
these
drones.
drones?
I thought, yeah, I completely forgot about that. So it's our government, 1,000%, 1,000,000,000%. Now, the thing that would be funny is I wish somebody would shoot one. The problem is you risk actually hurting civilians, which of course I don't want. But if somebody did, then all of a sudden the government would start talking. This is our government, 1,000%. Because
I think so too.
if it
Yeah.
wasn't our government, oh, dude, I think somebody, it might have been Trump, where like somebody asked him at some kind of presser, and he gave an answer like they know about it. The government knows about it, but it was a very vague answer. So I don't know if he's in the know on this, but dude, it's our government. Like, you gonna tell me these fucking things are just everywhere and nobody's doing anything about it? Like
Yeah.
from the law side. Now, what they're doing, God only knows. I don't know I don't know what it's for.
I've
But
heard a
my
really
thing
good
is,
theory.
if there's any in Alabama or something like that, dude, like I'm shocked that one hasn't been shot, you know?
Yeah. Well, so yeah, he would be on the know in the know on that because like obviously he gets the intel briefings and stuff still. So like, but yeah, they're all playing coy about it, obviously. So it's definitely the government. Like the question really is like, I know when it first started happening, people were like, could it be a foreign country? No, it wouldn't have got into our airspace like that. Not so easily, not around civilians. So
Right.
you can kind of, you can mark that off. And then it's like, okay, well then, is it aliens? I mean, cool theory. You know, I'm an alien believer myself, but no. So I think you really have to just go, it's either civilians dicking around and trying to create hysteria or it's the government. I think it's the government, and the fact that every government official or incoming government official is not really talking about it in depth should tell you what you need to know. I personally think one of the theories I heard that I actually believe is they're looking for something. The government's looking for something that they potentially lost. And that could be a nuclear warhead or something like that. They're looking for something. And obviously the government's not going to be like, hey guys, so we lost a nuke. So that's what all these drones are. But I think it's something like that personally. Yeah, but it's wild, man. It was enveloping the internet for weeks. Everybody was talking about it. It's all you heard.
Yeah, I've been listening to Eddie Trunk on Sirius for many, many years, and he's from New Jersey, and that's where like a lot of them were. And he was just on Twitter every day, like, why the F is nobody in our like state officials? Why is nobody saying that? This is effing insane. I go outside at night, there's these fucking drones in the sky. What the F? Nobody's doing anything about it. And I'm just like, God, what the hell's going on in New Jersey? You know, the thing is, it's just like, man, that pisses people off when the government doesn't tell us about it. Like when they don't say anything, dude. But
Welcome
maybe
to
we don't want,
America.
maybe they don't. I mean, I get it if they don't want us to know, because maybe it's like, maybe it's like what you said, it's something crazy like that. But
well, I mean, yeah, this isn't like a left right issue. Like, no, we should all know by now that the U.S. government, no matter who is in power at any given time, they're going to keep shit from us. That's just what they do.
of course, yeah.
So it sucks, you know, and they'll always tell you, or the belief is just that, like, oh yeah, well, they're trying to protect us by not telling us certain things. No, all you're doing is pissing me off. I want to know. I'm nosy. Like, you know, have you actually made contact with aliens? Are there aliens at Area 51? I want to know. Like, don't be coy about it. Just tell me.
Dude, I can't get into this because we're about to hit 2 hours, but like, I've been having existential problems again after watching Interstellar about space. Like, dude, not only are aliens out there, but I believe that there is a mirror universe with like tiny weird ripple effects, but it's like almost a mirror of what this world is.
That's
With
deja
slight
vu, brother. That's deja vu.
I also wonder sometimes if reincarnation is a thing, and that's also what deja vu is. If you do something or experience something that you might have in a previous life, and you have a moment like, what? I don't know, dude. Like I think of when I stay up late at night, my like one night we need to record like an episode like where you just stay up and we like, hey, at 2 a.m. we're gonna record. The shit I would say on that podcast would have people I would have people buckling at the knees at the stuff I would talk about. I would ruin their day
Yeah.
because like I fester and I start thinking about life and I start talking about the devil and evil and that's where I shine though.
Hey, guys, what's funny is he knows I'm the exact same way because he has said dozens of times over the years, you'll text me randomly at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I can tell that like your brain is like going, 100 miles a minute. It's like, and then I won't follow it up because I'll fall asleep, and he'll give me shit all the time and be like, I was left there wondering like what the fuck's going on. Like you said something cryptic and then you just fell asleep. I do the same thing. That is when my brain is most active. So yeah, the idea of doing a show like that actually hits hard for me. Like I think that would be killer.
Yeah. See, the problem is we can't talk about this too much publicly because we already got to do a show on 2000s horror. We already said we were doing that. Now people are gonna be like, "Fuck yeah, dude!
Most
Let's talk about
disturbing
everything.
movies we've
Let's
ever
talk about
seen.
yeah."
We said
talked too much.
2000s horror. We did. That was last time, didn't we?
I mean, we don't fuck them. We don't have to do it, but let's just
Yeah, you guys like the existential crisis episodes too, though. It's been a while since we've done one. In fairness, it has been a while. Like we're probably due for one of those.
I'm dangerous with that stuff, dude.
Yeah, no, you got me thinking about life and death now. Just even briefly mentioning it. Okay, I'll leave you with this thought, Christian, and to the viewers. No matter what you believe, religious, spiritual, whatever you consider yourself, I have always maintained, in my opinion, that I think the easiest thing to accept for us as humans would be the belief that we do just get born again and live another life as humans on Earth. And the reason I say that is because Earth is what we know. It's what we can comprehend. So when you're trying to comprehend like an afterlife of like heaven or hell or being a fucking tree or whatever it is, it's incomprehensible because you have no idea what that would be like. So I think as a human, the most comforting thought would be that you die and get born again and just live a new life as a human on Earth, the place that you know. So I'm not saying that's what I believe. It's not. But I think that is the most comforting thought. And I want to just quickly, do you agree that that's the most comforting thought? Because trying to wrap your head around an eternity in a place that you have no idea what it's like, may or may not even exist, that's hard to fucking wrap your brain around. You literally can't comprehend it. You don't know what it would be. So the most comprehensible thing would just be, just getting born again, right? Living again.
dude. Sometimes I think that, but I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm about to just ruin everybody's day. Brother, this may be it. Don't you ever have that feeling where you just kind of look up at like, do you ever have those feelings, those times where you just kind of like sit there, you look up, you look around and you say, there's no one out there. There's no one looking out after us. Do you ever have those moments? Like, you're gonna die, and then it's gonna be like you never think. I can't.
Okay, just quickly to answer that. Yeah, the last like 2 weeks, I've actually had that feeling a lot because pretty much nothing has gone right in my life in the last 2 weeks, and it just gets to a point where you're just kind of like, how much shit do I have to shovel? You feel like you're an overall decent person. You know, you try to do right more than you do wrong, and life just beats you down. And it's just kind of like, meanwhile, all these rich, self-absorbed, arrogant assholes just live lavish life. Maybe there is no cosmic karmic balance. You know, maybe it just is. Maybe if this is all there is, the idea is just to lie, cheat, and steal your way to the top so you can live it up while you're here. It's a sad thing to think about, but you know, I'm sure a lot of us feel that way where we, you know, when it rains, it pours. Not, you know, not to open wounds about the roof, but like it's true. it's true though. Like when it rains, it pours. It's just like something bad happens and you're like, well, it can only go up from here, right? And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you're like, what the fuck, man?
Yep.
Like, what the fuck?
And then other times I have the exact opposite feeling. I'm like, wow, how is life this coincidental?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be this coincidental.
Well, guys, we'll leave you with that. And maybe we'll pick up on that on the next episode. Or maybe it'll be 2004. Or maybe it'll be most disturbing. I'm going to post a poll. That's what I'm going to do. Because Christian tells me all the time, Nick, you got to stop saying this is going to happen. Because we don't know if we can always, or you don't know if you're going to be able to deliver on that. And he's right. Because sometimes a moment will catch us and we'll be like, let's just do this instead. And then
we're like, God, I don't want to do that. Like, guys, make your top 100 horror movie list. And I'm like, fuck, I'm not sitting down and writing 100 horror movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll give you a top 5.
Yeah. So I'll do a poll and you guys will decide the next episode. And then whatever wins out, second place will be the following episode after that. Because you guys know we're about to get into the doldrums. January, February, March, not a lot of movies come out, especially not a lot of good ones. No holidays to really speak of. It's that time of year where everybody's just kind of like, it's fucking cold. This sucks. So the next few months, there'll be a little more leeway to talk about anything and everything. So maybe next episode is the continuation of this existential crises, but you guys are going to decide that. So guys, comment down below. Let us know what you thought of Nosferatu. Let us know what you thought of anything and everything we talked about today. This was a fun episode. I feel like we bounced off a few different things. I felt like the vibe was good. And even when we brought the vibe down at the very end, I felt like it was like it's a cliffhanger, you know, like it's going to leave some of you guys thinking. And I want that. I think that's good. Food for thought. So you got anything else?
All right. No, they're going to be thinking. All right.
Christian could be thinking tonight too, because I just opened that door. So
no, I see the problem is I have too much shit I have to deal with right now, so I don't have time for the existential.
You're right. You're right.
I do.
It'll be when you're laying in bed. When you're laying in bed to go to sleep is when the existential crisis will hit.
Yeah.
I
have too much real life shit to deal with, like tomorrow, for instance. So if I try to have an existential crisis, it's going to be like, no, you have a leak in your roof, jackass. It's got to get like, I can't, everything has to be okay for me to contemplate everything. So maybe that's a blessing when I have shit I have to worry about.
Yeah. I don't know. But hey, guys, again, you guys are going to decide the next episode. So again, thank you all so much. We appreciate you. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, happy Boxing Day, whatever you're celebrating. I hope you guys have a very happy new year.
Right.
Don't make bullshit resolutions that you cannot keep up with. We all do it. I stopped doing resolutions years ago because they're bullshit. Okay.
Like New Year's revolutions.
Yeah, that's what we really need. So, but yeah, guys, here's to a good 2025 for all of you. For the show and for us individually, and I look forward to what next year brings. And thanks for being along this entire last year. You got anything else or?
No, dude, it's time to get it rolling. 2025.
All right, 2025. Let's get it rolling. All right, guys, we're heading out. Take her easy.